days, school days. This is the school day show.
What's your favorite memory from school?
Hold on, I just rolled it over.
Okay.
So it's Friday.
It's Friday.
God, it's been a week. I mean, we had me sick a day. For those that don't know, my wife is actually also not feeling well today. Not anything, but it's kind of thrown us off a little bit.
Yeah.
Morning shows were great this week, though.
Did we do it?
No,
I
yeah.
remember.
Well, I'm trying to juggle it all, and I'm trying to juggle it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hit a wall with the morning show, and I'm hoping that next week we'll be back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
I think some of it was me. The week has been a roller coaster, but in a lot of, here's the problem. I always end up going, well, yeah, but look at all the things I learned. It was a good week.
Right.
I didn't have a bad week. Now, when I'm in my zone, I don't even believe in that.
You don't believe in bad weeks?
Or good weeks.
At least? Yeah.
Good weeks. Well, it's not
having a good time, but like looking at it positively, right?
I'm just here. I'm just living right here.
Okay.
Trying to be present. So trying to take what comes and remember to say we shall see. Like when it's odd, just kind of go with it.
Mm-hmm.
I may have joined an international men's leadership group yesterday as well.
Mm-hmm.
That I now have meetings twice a month.
Okay.
But these are just people that randomly, hey,
how you doing?
Well, we've noticed you.
Yeah.
And we think we would like you to be a part of this group. Which used to be really unnerving for me.
Having that conversation.
Well, part of my life has always been that kind of weirdness where I feel like people go, well, I really think you should do this and it'll be a thing that's good.
Right.
I mean, it's not like, hey, I really think you need to do this, and next time, you're worried about what is his name, Xenon, and the aliens coming down. You're holding on to tin cans, checking to see if you're clear.
Right.
All that crap.
Yeah.
None of that crap.
None of that crap.
None of that crap. But that I've been very open to the idea of if you live here, and in the moment isn't what I mean. That in the moment sounds like I just don't care what's happening. I'm heedful of the effects and try to be, present. So I'm thinking compassionately. I'm not just like, whoa, baby.
Right.
Ooh, baby, do 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 do.
Right, you're not happy. You're not happy if you're at a funeral. You're just taking in the moment.
Well,
You're having a serious conversation with a friend.
I'm not
cheerful about it. You're just in the moment being present.
It feels good though.
Yeah.
That's the weird part.
It may still feel good even if you're not. Yeah.
It can feel good being there for people. Yes. Anyways, the point is, we're working on a bunch of stuff. I don't know if we have a show this Sunday. I'm gonna 100% tell you
I don't either.
That I know last week we had some technical difficulties. We had some other things going on. But at the same time, if they're up for it, I am. You know me.
I mean, yeah,
definitely. I keep trying to fix the problems and
yeah.
And the lighting's way off today.
Is it?
Yeah, there's something goofy between Facebook. I'll let it fly. Everything looks good on OBS, but that seems to be the issue. There are days when I'm producing it and it's off the rails. Time to go back to school, I suppose.
Time to go back to school.
Well, so what was like my first day where? Like school's like
yeah.
I remember. Okay, so my first memory of school. I'll go back before high school.
Okay.
My first real don't get me wrong, I have some other memories of kindergarten. I remember the kid getting his hand caught on the fence and it getting shredded. But what I remember most about kindergarten was I didn't want to color that goddamn apple.
Why not?
You know what? I was tired. Yeah, you have to color the apple red. I mean, how boring is this?
Right.
So, well, you can't scribble. Well, for the record, I was already drawing other stuff at home. It wasn't like I didn't know how to color.
Okay.
It was like she was just being a bitch.
Yeah.
The honest part is, this is my legitimate memory. I was 5, but all I know, and I know I didn't have that word to put with it then, but in my memory, somehow I'm an adult and I'm coloring this apple, and I am pissed off.
Okay.
Because this bitch is keeping me after class to color an apple. How friggin' brain dead do you have to be to go, you don't understand, if you don't color this apple the way I told you to color this apple, I'm gonna beat you, child. That's my memory.
Okay.
But now I also remember we went to Old McDonald's farm.
Did you go to a private school?
No. I only did 4 years of private school. The only time I went to private school was high school. That was so. My brother was an exchange student to Finland between his junior and senior years of high school. That's one of the ways you can do it. You can kind of figure out what year you're going.
Right.
So he goes and he lives in Europe for a year, including 4 months where with a backpack and himself, he just traveled all over Europe with a Eurail pass. So by the time he gets back, he's 18. And come on. Right. Now he has to go do a year of high school to get his diploma. And it's a bunch of kids. He's been clubbing his way across Europe. You know, he's lived a life
that's, for an 18-year-old, that's pretty...
So I'm 13, or I'm 12, I guess. Whatever. He hates Gahan, the school district. He just can't stand Gahan High School. He's coming home complaining about it every day, how they're idiots. Because, I mean, he only stayed in Germany for about a month, and his German's better than his German teachers. He keeps having to correct her.
Dang.
Well, immersion, man. I'm telling you, if you end up in a place, especially if they write the language the same way you do, Thai broke me down, brother, because it ain't the same alphabet. I never got to, I can't read Thai.
Well, no, I had a Spanish teacher that was actually like, her Spanish and her English. So her Spanish was better than the kids that spoke Spanish from home, but also her English was better than the kids that spoke English from home, because she like studied both languages fully.
Here's the problem. There really are multiple forms of Spanish. And so
that's true.
People will argue that, oh, this person speaks Spanish more correctly, and what they're speaking about, Spain.
I only mean more properly.
No, I know, that's what I mean. The Royal Spanish.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I don't know if you know this, they've, just like Americans have changed English over the last 300-400 years. You know what? Trust me, all up and down South America and Central America, they've changed Spanish.
We also had a teacher who was from Spain, and his Spanish was different from hers.
So his was, so you had an additional.
My first year of Spanish, I had a Spanish teacher that was from Spain.
Wow.
And he taught very, like, the way he taught it was a lot more different than the way that she taught it. She was just a better teacher, but also, like, he would talk about vosotros and stuff like that, and different specific things. But anyways, basically,
it bored you when he was talking about it.
Yes.
So I apologize. I caught him, folks. So much. He was getting ready to tell the story of what bored him.
I wasn't getting ready to go in that in depth. But,
okay, it was close enough.
It was close enough.
There was a ledge. I grabbed
you. Get the point. Anyways, yeah, like it was always interesting seeing like people that spoke different languages and how they think about other languages.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
well, part of the reason. So when sometimes we'll think someone's English isn't as good as it is because we oh wow, their English is so bad. And what it is they'll be moving nouns, verbs, adjectives. Well, what happens is they understand all the words, but they're still putting them in the order of the other language.
Right.
And so we're like, okay.
Right.
You know, why?
I do come across some people where it seems like they change the language they think. And I don't know.
No, that happens.
Like
no.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why immersion is different than trying to learn a language.
Right.
Okay, so we'll jump past high school for a minute. When I was learning Thai, before I could have a fluid conversation, I was already dreaming fully in Thai.
Right.
Correctly.
Right.
And I know that because I knew what was going on in the dream and it was all in Thai.
Right.
That's when you make the transition. But then what happens is the funniest part is you'll be trying to write letters home,
Um,
and you're trying to take a word that means a lot to you and translate it into English.
right.
My Pilat means never mind, but it means it in the sense of everything is a little thing.
So
Don't worry so much.
do you think that going back and forth, but like, so I would say that I think in English. But if I went to another country, do you think it would be different if I was literally constantly encountering the other language and I had to constantly translate in my head?
No, what happens
Like,
is
is that
you stop translating eventually.
okay?
Yes,
Eventually, it just becomes common nature in your head.
it's
This word-
no, there's no this word means this and this anymore.
okay,
The point where you make so eventually you speak two languages.
right.
The point where you speak two languages is when you quit translating from this language to that language.
It's just that you understand everything in both.
Well,
Not everything.
It's always
I don't mean it
stop
like that.
stop for a minute. There are English words we could pull out of the dictionary that you and I would not recognize.
Of course. 100%. Yes.
So your spoken vocabulary can be huge, but the majority of it's really this, the, I, am, you, we, them.
Of course.
There are some basic words that, and then you get into, then the hard part becomes specific nouns. Knowing what a TV is.
Right.
Amazingly, the only thing I can remember is the word for ashtray is kikiepuri because it's lazy cigarette. Kiet is lazy and buri is cigarette.
Okay.
So it's a lazy cigarette is what an ashtray is called.
An ashtray is called a lazy cigarette.
Lazy
That's
cigarette.
funny.
So, how many years of Spanish did you take then? 2?
4.
4?
No. Was it 3?
Did you take
It might
every,
have
so you
been
took
3.
Spanish every year?
So I took Spanish freshman year. Sophomore year I took it. Junior year I moved states. That's when I moved states. And I took a little bit of Spanish in Columbus that year, and then the rest of my Spanish was in New York.
Okay.
And it was. I mean,
Okay, here's the test.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say good morning in Spanish?
Buenos dias.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you say, where is the bathroom?
Donde es el baño?
Can you say, where is the library?
Donde es la biblioteca?
Ah.
I think biblioteca. I
And that's my shout out to
Could be wrong.
community fans.
right.
So, high school. See, high school was weird for me because okay, so first off,
Mhm.
to end the story, but I had a best friend whose brother loved the school he was going to.
Okay.
Would come home amazed by what he was learning.
Right.
That was St. Charles Preparatory School. Go Cardinals! That was it's Broad and Nelson.
Mhm.
It's a big rolling. It was originally a seminary.
Mhm.
I am not Catholic, but they let non-Catholics go to those schools. It's not like you can pay tuition.
Right.
The Catholics pay tuition too.
Did you learn any languages there or anything close to it?
Well, okay, so no, I took 2 years of Latin
Okay.
and 2 years of French.
Okay.
No, okay. The funny thing is, so I was taught French by a beautiful man. I mean, great. I mean, I really actually loved Jerry. Jerry was a good guy. Jerry Volakovich.
Okay.
To claim that I or if I could remember any of it, would have a good French accent,
Right.
based on the fact that I was taught it. I forget which Eastern Bloc country Mr. Volakovich was originally from,
Okay.
but I know that French doesn't have that many in it. I know it. That's from those other languages. But so, and the funny thing was, so the reason I know who Gerard Depardieu is, who was a
Yeah.
French actor, and knew who Jean Reno was and stuff before he got into American acting.
Yeah.
Almost all we did in that class was watch movies in French and read subtitles.
Yeah.
But they were good.
They were
They
good
were
movies?
amazing movies.
Okay.
I mean, I saw Three Men and a Baby before it was Three Men and a Baby. That's a French movie. That there's a much better French one
Yeah.
that I've seen.
I will say 100%. The third year I was in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
We did almost full immersion, and basically it was like my teacher was like, I'm going to be speaking in Spanish and you're going to be responding in Spanish. I learned more in the month that I did that than I did when I was in New York. And because that teacher, she was an American and she spoke like the book Spanish.
Right.
So the stuff they teach in the book. So it was like,
well, and it's hard to,
yeah.
And I think we should normalize the idea that our kids travel.
I think
we should
kids
normalize.
traveling the world it makes
So I have this
the
vision.
world more connected.
So okay, this is my dream for schools, right? We're going into the future. Or I actually, you know what I need? I need the TARDIS noise from Doctor Who. So I was watching all this education stuff with the pandemic.
Okay.
And so we had a bunch of kids here. And so I had a firsthand sort of
knowledge.
So I could see that the kids could go whatever speed they needed to go. It wasn't as regulated as we would like it to be because it was we were all thrown into a panic or whatever. We were dealing with a situation. But what I realized was, oh my God, that's more like what we need.
Yes.
That the idea of, so what if you had more like proctors? So kids would still go up in grades, first, second, third, all the way through, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so the teachers working with them, they'd all have their little laptops like they've already got now, or whatever. They would be going as like this math class. Well, but all of them would be in different math classes.
Mm-hmm.
This group, and some of them would be, and then they break out when they needed to, and the person running the class would work with this group, that group, the other, and kids could excel.
Mm-hmm.
The kids best at reading would zoom forward. The kids best at math. They're not all leveled because leveling them screws them up.
Right. Well, what happened? So I think my sophomore year, my grades in math started dipping because I didn't like the teacher and I wasn't taking the time to like actually study and stuff like that. So then she put my grandma and my grandpa put me in Sylvan Learning.
Okay.
And what I realized there was
you were an elf?
the effect. No, the effect.
He was a Sylvan Wood elf. He was.
The effect.
Sylvan means woods, just so you know. Latin.
The
shit.
Latin. That's the only Latin you know.
No, Agricola, man, means farmer.
What?
Agricola means farmer.
Agricola.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know other Latin words.
I believe you. I just.
But I also speak English, and a lot of that's Latin too. So
right.
It all
blends.
It all blends. La.
But yeah, what I realized there was like, I learned a lot more just being on the tablets they were giving me, and well, first off, we took a test to figure out where we were, and then they gave us this tablet, and we would work out with problems with another person. So basically, they'd have a lady going around helping us,
right,
and they'd have us on our tablet trying to figure out the problems on our own, and it worked. Like I learned a lot more. I learned to like actually sit down on my own and actually like, if I don't understand what we just talked about in class, I can always go to Khan Academy and look up a specific video about what we just talked about that I didn't understand, and it's going to teach me more. And then once I come back to class, I'll understand what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get ahead a lot quicker just because of the fact that I was doing my own research. But I feel like schools did that more often. It would just be like, I think that would help kids a lot in excelling in what they need to excel at.
So that I have this, the next level is if children had a device that was working with them.
Yeah.
If the guys that designed the Facebook logarithms that make you not want to look away worked on education. Right. Why is this not obvious?
And then you add in the fact that school can give you that social component, and the fact that kids aren't really comparing where they're at because they understand that they're at different places at different places. Because that's it's normal. A lot easier to understand.
Because that's normal.
It's a lot easier to understand that when you're in this class all day, and then
it all fits.
Exactly. It's different than when you go from class to class to class, so you know who's good at what. It's a different thing.
Everybody excels at different things.
Exactly.
Fish don't climb trees well. It's just a reality.
it's a retort of,
Birds are
oh,
crappy swimmers.
I'm better than you at English. Well, I'm better than you at math. Okay, so we're balanced out.
Normalized
Like,
difference.
yes, yes.
Normalized diversity.
I think
That we have to start diversity at the very beginning at the school level.
I think the proctoring system is 100% the way to fix it.
That recognize it, yeah.
100%.
Well, that it's so much more doable. And
Yes.
Every kid has one of these fuckers.
And what they're worried about
And
is
if this
kids,
thing talked to them about what they were interested in, my God, the things we would know.
and what they're worried about is kids being less social. But the thing is, I don't think you have to worry about that.
That's not how it's used. You have to make it a tool.
You can spend less time on this because you're going to learn so much more. So you can give them longer recess periods or longer breaks just because of the fact that they're learning so much from being on a tablet or being on a phone or whatever it's going to be.
Imagine a device.
Yeah.
That when today, so there's a period dedicated to, so what are you interested in today?
Right.
And that kid that shows up kindergarten, first grade says, I'm interested in dinosaur bones.
Right.
They do an hour on that.
Right.
They you're constantly fostering the interest.
And then you can have teachers constantly making content for that stuff.
Well,
and
right, because
updating it. And you have
it's already out there. The crazy thing is the amount of stuff available. No, it's already all exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's how to.
It 100% already exists.
How do we sell it?
How do we sell it? And not how do we sell it. How
That's
do we
why
get
it never
people to
works.
buy in is really the question.
I've always thought it was Gates Foundation would be the answer.
Gates Foundation.
That if what you were trying to do was a global learning initiative, you bypass all the schools.
I think you need.
And you make education available on devices, and you just give it away.
Right.
And so you're not fighting the unions, just making life better, man.
Right.
And if they excel more here, they're going to excel more at school. And if eventually that all merges,
I think
power of infection.
I definitely think that with the right marketing team that understands kids, or even throwing some kids in there, throw in some really really smart kids.
Well, it's that you know? Well, no, they don't have to be real. No, they need to be normal kids. They need to be everyday kids. Okay. And you need to keep trying it.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, if you can figure out a logarithm that'll get me to stare at the stupid crap on Facebook,
you can figure out one to get.
You can figure out one to get kids to look at the stuff they're interested in. I'm just saying, what you have to do is the same way you've used. Okay, so what they do. So one of the logarithms. The whole point is they know which post to send you and how to hit you. Mm-hmm. So I'm currently Facebook's after me for money, and it's funny watching their logarithm work at me, because there's a day it'll go boom and hit me with an email every hour. Mm-hmm. Then it'll wait a minute, and then it'll come out. It'll come out to me on Facebook and go, mm-hmm. You had this many ad clicks last month. That you're losing money as you. I'm losing. I don't know how to explain it. I wouldn't yet. Money. Anyways, money. Money, please. Please, money.
I will say my only problem with school my entire time growing up is that I knew how smart I was. When I'd go to class and we'd get back homework, I'd look at the homework and I'm like, this is like elementary. I don't want to do this. This is dumb, and I already know how to do this. We did this in class and I aced at it. So why do I need to do this? And the only thing that didn't make me feel didn't build up my ego like that was Khan Academy, where it was a system of you can look at videos that you don't understand, and I was going past my class just because I didn't want to learn about the stuff that we were learning about in class. I would ask my chemistry teacher questions that we were going to go over in 2 weeks.
Well, right, because
because
one of my friends from high school, actually,
right.
And one of my how do I describe Joe? Anyways, everybody from high school, Greg.
Yeah.
No, it's neurodiversity. It's the idea that we are so attached to structuring everybody into a box.
Exactly.
And by that, I'm telling you, we're losing our greatest resource.
Yes.
That across the globe, anybody that can't access all of this really cool stuff that's understanding how this whole place works, it's a joy if it's taught right.
When I was confined to learning with everybody else, I got really, really egocentric about my what I knew, and I got a big head. And then when I realized that I could just learn what I like,
Right.
I got less egocentrical about it because it was like,
You say sen.
yeah, I know.
He said centrical.
Egocentric, I know. It's
The
egocentric.
best was he was talking about how egocentric he
I know.
was, and then adding centrical, and it was the
Centric-
best.
I'm telling you, it's comical how egocentric I was. See what I did there? Anyway, I made up a word and I made up an explanation for the word.
But I think that, okay, so I believe
Mhm.
our current school system is based on an old theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so that original schooling, the wealthy, of course, you learned, writing, poetry, art,
Right.
the trades, you were trained to a trade.
Yeah.
Our schools are still designed that way.
Right.
What do we need you to have by the end of high school so you can work somewhere?
Right.
Not what do you need for life? We don't care. Can you go to the factory and get some stuff done?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what we're looking at here,
I
right?
still think.
No, wait. And then we go to university, and what we act like we're no longer doing trade schools. And every university system in our country is set up on a trade school system. I'm going to go to the school of medicine.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the school of... It's still all set up based on trades. And it totally denies the fact that that's not how humans work.
I will say, I have less of a problem. I have less of a problem with there being trade schools if throughout high school you were learning, like, if you were learning more of the things you needed to learn, like, or if you learned more of the things that you wanted to learn. Like, for example, if you learned what you wanted to learn as a kid, when you're an adult, you can make a better decision of what you need to learn.
Where would we end up?
What would you would actually enjoy?
You mean like, it sounds like how you're supposed to raise kids.
Yeah.
It just sounds...
100%.
Greg reminded me.
That's why
Mr. Volakovich was from Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia. And he did also teach Russian. Did you take Russian? I think Greg might have taken Russian.
Definitely changed.
And then we got distracted.
Well,
I really need to be better about putting up the Facebook over. Anyways, long story short, I personally look back and feel like I had an amazing high school experience. But so this weird thing happens. We start school, Greg and I, because it's Greg's brother that is the one. Lee's the one that talked about how impressed he was with St. Charles.
Right.
While my brother David despised Gahanna. So I go to St. Charles in a blue submarine when I could, with Lee driving and eventually Greg driving. So I'm there for the first quarter, and I get involved in drama and stuff. Well, I end up with bronchitis, sinusitis, mono. I'm out for the entire second quarter of freshman year.
So you weren't that kid that was just making up stuff. You were
No.
actually like going through that shit.
I was. The worst about having sinusitis and bronchitis is every time you cough, it feels like your head's going to explode. So I mean, so Christmas. So I've been out the entire quarter. Christmas, we go to a movie. We finally decide maybe I could go out.
Right.
I believe it was Buckaroo Banzai, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Buckaroo Banzai or Never Cry Wolf. But anyways, I get out to the car and start shivering and sleep for 32 hours. Back then I guess people just didn't go to the hospital. Mom, why didn't I go to the hospital? Anyways, I'm sure they checked on me.
Yeah.
And I woke up at I don't remember waking up at all. But anyways, that does a weird thing to your high school experience.
Okay.
In my head, in my perspective of the illusion of whatever happened, it meant that I wasn't there when school started forming cliques. So the first quarter of freshman year, you're like, oh my God, I'm in high school. What am I don't know. They want me to show the other boys my testicles? That's just wrong. That you're having a whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Second quarter, you're calming down and getting into your kind of groups.
Right.
No, I was fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I had the guys I played, like, role-playing games with.
Right.
Like Greg, his brother, Matt, and... God, I want to... Well, I mean, there was our old buddies. There was Jared. There was Andy. There was, anyways, Justin.
Okay.
But so I had that group, and we then there was a subset of that that kind of played D&D at the high school as a D&D group. Way to show you're popular. Um, but I always felt like, to some extent, relative to my high school experience, I was on the outside. I don't know if that was. I don't have the Catholic background. And I don't know if I hadn't gone to like Catholic school before that.
Right.
So that, I'm sure that's some of it. Some of it's the quarter you miss.
Right.
Some of it's that I'm an asshole. Some of it's that I worked, you know.
I'll say that I was very much a floater in middle school.
Like somebody took a drink and spit you back in a cup. That's just wrong.
What?
You know, floaters. You've never had kids. Until you've had kids, you won't understand floaters. Never mind. We'll move on. Greg knows floaters. But
okay.
Joe knows floaters.
I will say that like I haven't. I would basically go around from table to table talking to different people, and I'd basically spend like 2 weeks sitting at every table. Like each table, I'd go around like that, and then high school is when like I kind of like I still did that, but I had more friends that I talked to every day, or like I had my little group, you know.
What was your group like? What were they into?
They were just chill.
Anime, blow up dolls?
No,
No?
no. They were just chill. Like, I had my best friend Talea. She was my best friend at the time. I had Quincy. I had Ramsey. They were twins. Um, they were both a-holes at times, but like it was cool. They were okay. Um, like I had a group of friends, and then it was just I don't know. Like it was chill, I guess. And then when I went to New York, that was when I really like socially blossomed or whatever, because I was encountering a lot of people every day. So I had to get used to like talking to new people and talking to people that I didn't know at all. And I had to get really good at walking into a situation and getting to know people quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's a lot of my. And
Yeah.
see, I didn't add that. I think part of the reason I always felt on the outside was also my. Okay, so I think we brought this up. We moved every about a couple years through the school years. And then I made a decision to leave my friends and go to another school for high school. So, like, there were people there, but at the same time,
Right.
I didn't go with the crowd. Didn't miss the crowd either, for the record. I don't mean it like that. But that I made another change.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But the fact that I had, so after third grade, we moved from Escanaba to Columbus.
Where's that?
Escanaba to Upper Michigan, so across the big bridge and closer to Canada than Detroit. And we moved to Gahanna, actually. No, across. You gotta go across.
Oh, okay.
There's
okay.
a piece up
Oh,
here.
the other. Okay,
Upper
the
Michigan.
other- okay.
Yeah, like
gotcha.
you go to the bridge and
I got you.
well, actually, bridge is
Off
here.
the hand.
Yeah, up
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah, off the mitten. It's not a hand, it's a mitten.
Mitten.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
what
mitten.
it's called.
Because it's not fingers like this. It's a,
I just knew that they would throw up the hand, so I just.
yeah, you know you're from
off the hand.
Michigan if you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm right here. This is Detroit.
Yeah.
This is Petoskey up here. See,
Okay.
Detroit, I'm backwards for you guys, sorry. Detroit, Petoskey, or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, Mackinac Island out here. I'm all screwed up trying to do this backwards, folks. I know that wasn't Michigan. Might have been Guatemala.
It's okay.
But I had a really close friend
Okay.
who, and the weird part is, it wasn't because now I think about it, it wasn't because we moved. So he was my closest friend. He was the guy every day when I walked to school, and I walked about a mile to school in first grade. Not making this up. I walked from one side of Bucyrus to the other side of Bucyrus. Maybe it's when we were moving Bucyrus. I'm so confused. Maybe that was Bucyrus to Escanaba. I might have been younger. It was third grade. Because it was before the Bucyrus to Escanaba that I felt that. Because I had a buddy that every day I'd walk to school and stop at his house. So you'd walk the long distance, and sometimes I'd get there real quick because it was icy. I could ice skate on my tennis shoes. And I'd sing to the schools. But anyways. And so he was like my best friend. And then he moved.
Right.
And I'd already gone through this a couple times. So after that, I got really good at,
Detaching a little bit.
well, making friends, but not being
Too close.
too close. It's why it took me years to figure out how to be a good friend. Because I picked up how to, like, everybody would accept me, but I never invested more. I did inside, but I didn't outside.
I had changed schools enough to frequently I was able to lose friends and be okay with it and still keep in touch with them. Like, I would still go hang out with my best friends from elementary school when I was in high school. Like, I would still see them and stuff like that, but I had also made the separation that I don't go to school with them anymore. Like, I don't see them as often. So I'm pretty good at, like, keeping connections, like, past when they're supposed to fizzle out.
Right.
But I also can detach from, like, connections if they're not around me all the time. And it's like I've had to get used to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get over that. I'm trying to be more connected.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I think we are okay. So, Thich Nhat Hanh, if we're gonna go with Buddhist masters and all that, the idea that, like, so in my head, I'm not trying to be more connected. I'm trying to remember we are that connected.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
That I'm not trying to go. I'm not trying to make something happen. I'm trying to be aware of something that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so much that, and I mean that when I'm talking about friendship too, because it's the hard part is being present. So when I quote all that kind of stuff, what I think I'm just pointing out logic. That I found this piece of wisdom. It just makes sense.
Right.
I don't absorb it like, from on high came the tablets. And,
right.
Because everything I go,
yeah,
I give everything the stink eye. You know that.
Right. I get it.
Everything. I give everything the stink eye. So I find that when I find those bits that are just like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will say everything from my school experience taught me, like, I know that there's a better way to do school, but I also know that the way that school is done now, I got a lot out of it.
Oh no, so no, I'm not.
Like, I still think our education.
Praise the teachers. No, I think our teachers do a better job than our education system deserves.
When you get a good teacher, oh my, it blesses the year. Like,
well, and this is what I want to point out.
Yeah.
This is why we need to admit that our education system is really on the back of our teachers and support them.
100%.
That I look at, so there's this weird, in the world of jobs, the most important ones are teacher, philosopher.
Okay.
Well, and that's psychology too, for the record. The people that figure that part out, the thinking bit.
Mm-hmm.
And doctors. Doctors do some of that thinking bit too.
Right.
But we don't pay much attention to teachers and philosophers. The people that are figuring it out and teaching our young, there's no doctors or lawyers or engineers or any of that without teachers. That's why teachers should rate so high.
Right. Because they teach everybody everything.
Right? I'm like, people fight with schools and teachers and everything. I'm like,
no, people think that when I question how our education system is run, that I think that it's bad. I don't think that it's bad. I just think that it could be better.
I think when I find myself questioning the education system, the problem I have with it
is not the teachers.
No, they're not teaching the children to question enough. What I have as far as a question of our teaching system is why the children are not questioning more.
Right.
Teach people how to learn.
Yeah.
It's what to learn on the basics. How to learn is, oh my God. We are at this moment where all of the knowledge in the world, within reason and some slightly redacted, still don't know what's in Area 51. But anyways, but all of this information we have,
Mm.
which, don't get me wrong, is minuscule in comparison to the information in the universe.
Right.
You're never going to know it all, so quit thinking you do. But we can learn anything.
Right.
Why would we gatekeep knowledge? I've always said, if you charge for education, you're going to have stupid people. If you charge for healthcare, you're going to have sick people. There's another one. I forget.
I was gonna say if you charge for funerals, you're gonna get
If you're going to charge for funerals, that's another one I always say.
That one doesn't translate to
That one doesn't.
that anyway.
If you charge for funerals, you're gonna have dead people. Man, you know how ridiculous. You know, let me get off that subject for a minute. Look into the funeral industry and what a racket it is.
Oh, yeah.
I have wood here at the house. We could build box, man. $20,000 for all of that seems. You know, but are they really holding a gun to your head? Because, I mean, the patient's already dead. I'm sorry. With that, I hope everybody has great memories of high school. You know what? Look back on even the stuff that looked hard and realize that it was all lessons along the way. That's how I feel about it now. I've gleaned so much from what I chose to try not to learn that I'm amazed some days.
But you chose to try not to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
There was a teacher. There's one teacher out there who.
Gotta use that AK, man.
I need to give my sincerest apologies. I should probably try and find her on Facebook, but I really need to apologize to her, man.
But
I was such a bad student at the time. I didn't want to. I was actively going against anything she was teaching. Like I remember writing a whole
bit of a contrarian, were you?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Good thing you found a place you could make a living doing that.
I had a test where she was like, it was talking about, oh, what did they do in like the 1800s or blah 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 blah, and I was like, why don't you go back to the 1800s and ask them yourself, because I have no idea what they used to do. And I wrote this whole essay basically explaining that everything you taught us, I don't know. I was just going through. I was like, there's no way that you know. Because the records they kept were so bad, and I'm like,
what was her name? Do you remember her name?
I remember her name.
What's her name?
Okay, her name is Monica Epler.
No, Mrs. Epler. The trick is you didn't need to give a first name.
I'm sorry.
Mrs. Epler, is she married?
Epler. I don't know.
Okay, Ms. Epler.
Listen,
I want you to know that he's not changed in the least.
I want
he's
to
an absolute pain in my ass. He's still a contrarian and argues every minute about everything.
I'm still kind of an a-hole. But
no, you're not an a-hole.
Trying to be less of an a-hole.
No, we're trying to make a living out of you being a bit of a contrarian. We got to argue everyone's... Not argue. For the record, those are the only arguments. We don't want to argue. But this, sometimes, is fun.
Sometimes. From time to time.
I hope everyone has a great weekend. I swear I'm going to work at being here Monday morning. That I'm going to do the farm report on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. We'll be here for Where's the Line 5 days unless, there's a solar eclipse and the world ends. I don't know if we're doing the show this Sunday. I'm talking to the guys in the Universal Sangha about it. We'll figure that out. Either way, peace and love. Peace. I want to be Ringo Starr. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love.
That's hilarious.
So you say you want a revolution. Well, I can't sing, that's for sure. That's what we know. Da 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 da. Fun again. It's still. It looks fuzzy today. I don't know why.